Welcome to Awakening Within. I'm your host, Jill McPherson. In one of our previous shows, you may remember seeing my next guest. She calls herself an animal communicator, and when she was on the show, she did a reading on my dog Shiva. It was a very profound and helpful experience in better understanding my dog and her behavior. We got great feedback about the show. Even our TV crew here at the studio came out to ask her questions when we stopped taping last day. So Claudia, we are glad to have you back and help us further understand not only our pets, but the animal kingdom.
Thank you so much.
So I just wanted to start with how, overall, are you received when you say to people, I can hear what animals are trying to say?
Well, I've been doing it for a very, very long time. So 20 years ago, people were like very skeptic. But it's funny now when you talk openly and say, hey, I'm an animal communicator, people usually don't start talking about it, but once you tell them, then they say, I heard about it, I used one, or so on. So it's very, very well known now. Okay. And people really love it because all of a sudden a whole new world opens up. Like you have a really good friend, but you can't really communicate, and all of a sudden this friend has a voice.
Right. Right. Any resistance though? Like, is there people like skeptics, or like how could you possibly know what an animal's saying?
Oh, absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Right. And then how do you respond to that?
Well, if you talk with people and say, think about it, there's so much more to an animal than we just know, or most people think about. And then you get into a conversation and you explain how you communicate with animals and how animals actually react. When they talk to their own animal companions, there's such a switch in behavior, and all of a sudden, quite often your relationship totally changed.
Right. So kind of like the proof is in the pudding, like when you do your work, people see the effects of your work. Yes. and then it's like there's really no convincing, it's just, they just see it.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
So tell me some of your experiences of being an animal communicator for people. Like, where are you most needed? Where do you?
Well, mostly the first time people come to me is either behavior or wellness issues. And usually I get, I tried everything else, nothing works, so well, why not try that? There's nothing to lose.
Right.
So that's usually the first thing. And then they see that it really helps them and helps the animal companions, right? And then people come back for all kinds of different reasons. Right. Because everything, it could be that you have a change in your life coming up, or maybe you move, or who knows. And everything that you do affects your animal companion in a huge way as well.
Okay. Well, I have to admit, the last time that we had Claudia on, she did a reading on my dog, like I had mentioned, and you told us a lot of stuff about Shiva, what she's experiencing. I went home, told my family, and it has had a positive change. Number one change we've made is being really clear on communicating to the dog, where we're going, when we'll be back, or if somebody's coming, letting them know someone's coming. So thank you for that. It's definitely, she's calmer and better at welcoming new people into the house as well. So, awesome. So that's been, I think everybody's just more sensitive and aware to, including her like a family member.
Right. That's awesome.
So yeah, so that's been very helpful.
And we also spoke about how actually animals hear things, because that's usually the biggest problem.
Okay.
Because when I talk to people about I can talk to animals and, excuse me, and they try it, they say a wrong thing. So it's not just about that we talk to them, it's also how we communicate with our animal companions, what we say.
Okay, so give me an example.
So for example, if a big issue is dogs jumping up.
Right, oh yeah.
So most people would say, let's call your dog Buddy. Buddy, don't jump up. So of course he will continue doing it. And then people say, see, they don't hear. Like, it doesn't matter what I'm saying. But it's because the way we say it. If you say, Buddy, don't jump up, you focus on the jumping up. And of course he will do that. So any negation that an animal hears, basically animals don't hear negations.
Right, they don't hear the don't.
Exactly.
They just hear the jump up.
Right. So if I say to you, don't think about an elephant, what comes up in your mind is an elephant, right? Right? So it's the same thing. So we always have to tell our animal companions what we want. And that way they actually hear what we're saying.
Right.
So if you say, for example, you take your dog to, or any animals, right? Any animals. Let's say you take a dog companion to the vet and you say, don't be scared, it's not going to hurt, you don't have to stay. Well, the nightmare just came through because you said it's going to hurt, you have to stay, and be really worried about it.
Right.
So you would say things, for example, you have to be totally honest with your animal companion. You would say, okay, we go into the vet, they're going to do an exam, they're going to listen to your heart, take your temperature, eat on your ear or your bum bum, and there will be 1 or 2 pokes. Like one would be for blood test, one could be for vaccination or something, and then be really honest. Say, okay, I will be with you the entire time, or take you in the back, and then afterwards, I'll pay, and then we go home, and so that the animal knows exactly what's going to happen.
Right.
Because once they know what's going to happen, they can relax. They can be more, okay, I know what's going, this is going to go on, and this and this and this. So you take all the pressure away, and as you just mentioned, you tell Sheba that where you go, what time you will be back. That way, your animal companion knows that everything you say is really going to happen.
Right.
So the relationship also changes because all of a sudden there's this trust there. Like, yes, what she says it's really going to happen, because most people say, I'll be right back, and then they're gone for 2 weeks.
Right.
So how can an animal feel really totally relaxed or trust?
Right. I mean, and this can extend out besides pets, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
we need to be aware that, there's other animal interactions we have, whether it's in a farming situation like myself, I'm on a farm with my husband and family, and, other wildlife situations too, where there's animals, and you're saying that we can actually communicate and send messages to them as well.
Absolutely, about everything. So for example, farming, let's say you have milking cows, right?
Beef cattle, but yeah,
okay,
so we have cows.
Yes,
yeah.
But if you have milking cows, for example, rather than just you herd them to to get milked or whatever, right? You would tell them, okay, guys, let's go up there and we put the milking machine or whatever. Tell them beforehand, so they're not just. I mean, okay, after a while, of course, no.
They know.
But why get through all that stress? So
Right.
why not telling them what's going to happen? Just before it happens, you tell them.
Right.
Or
So a farmer talking to his cows is a really good idea.
absolutely, yes. Like when I walk my dog companions, I always talk to them. I say to them, oh, stop, there's a car coming, or this or that, right?
Right.
People always look at me a little bit weird, but the people who know me, they know that I do that, right?
Well, I have to tell you, a lot of people have said to me when I've told them about our show, the previous show, I do talk to my animals, and I kind of thought I was crazy, and now I'm reassuring them, you're not crazy, you're doing exactly what you should be doing, talking to them as explicitly as possible.
Right. But the key element is say what's going to happen, say what you want. Again, avoid any don'ts or no's or whatever, because that just will tell your animal companions the opposite.
Right, so
actually.
keep it positive.
Yes.
Stay tuned as Claudia will share another one of her gifts that are helping pet owners who are grieving a lost pet. We'll be right back. We are back with animal communicator Claudia Hehr, who is able to communicate with animals. She has spent her life helping pet owners and other people who interact with animals on understanding animal behavior and how best to interact with them based on what the animals are saying. Her gifts do not end there. She is also a medium in that she can relay messages from animals that have passed on. So, Claudia, you're going to do a reading on a dog that has passed, my previous pet, previous dog, Max. And so as we discussed, I'll just kind of give you a quick background of Max, and so the viewers can know what the story is as well. So we had a dog, a border collie for, he's about 3. Well, we got him when he was a pup, but had him for about 3 years. And unfortunately, around the time he was 3, there was a dog biting incident with a friend's little boy, a 3-year-old who was playing with him. And unfortunately, as the mums, we were so busy chatting, we, basically, even though they were in the same room, we weren't really paying attention and picking up on the signs that the dog was distressed. And then when we finally decided to let the dog out, the 3-year-old was between, the dog and the door, and likely seeing it as a threat, jumped on the child to get, out of my way, and bit the child and then raced out the door. So it caused obviously a great deal of stress for their family, for our family, for everybody involved. And the family asked that we have the dog put down. Of course, my heartache was that Max was being Max. Max was being a dog, feeling threatened, and that's what dogs do when they feel threatened. Right. Not because he was known to be at all a vicious dog, and if anything, I found him very sort of a timid, shy dog. Anyway, so we, after some soul searching, we decided, yes, we had to put Max down. So it was really, hard on me, not only because obviously most people would say it's hard to put a pet down under any circumstance, but I took on a lot of guilt of it was because of my negligence that this happened and that Max was sort of a victim of my negligence. And also because up until then we'd always had strictly farm dogs, and for those people who farm know what I'm talking about, a lot of farm dogs just live in the barn with the animals, their protection, they're part of the animal family in the barn and not always come into the house. So our previous dogs were sheep dogs, they weren't in the house. But Max was a dog that was allowed in the house, and therefore, for the first time, I had a really strong connection with a dog that I'd never had before. So the double fold there of like really having my first real connection with a dog, and then on top of that, having the guilt of having to put him down. So I swore I'd never have a dog again, but 3 years later, my family convinced me that we would have a dog again. But I still think of Max often, and then I thought, well, since you do readings on pets that have passed, to help pet owners heal some stuff that I know, if we went on much longer, you'd probably start seeing some tears. So knowing that kind of background, where do you go from there as far as helping people?
First of all, it's nice to reconnect after. Okay. And I would like to, when people say passed on or died, I would like to change that wording actually. Okay. Because when a soul leaves the physical body, and there's literally no difference between humans and animals, the soul leaves the physical body, and a soul is immortal. So you never die. So death and dying, I would like to actually take out of the vocabulary, because an animal or a human, like again, a soul leaves the physical body, so moves on. Right. Moves on to the next part of the journey.
It's a transition.
Yes. So
is that what you're saying?
Yes, it's basically from a physical to non-physical.
Okay.
And our animal companions, they never leave us. Okay. They're always around. Again, it's almost like, let's say one of your daughters all of a sudden decides, okay, I'm going to study in Oxford. Right. Just because you don't see her every day anymore doesn't mean she's gone, right? Right. She's still there.
She just physically left.
Exactly. So you text, email, whatever, call, right? Mm-hmm. So you're still in contact. And so it's the same with our animal companions. When they leave the physical body, when they move on to the next part of the journey, they're never gone. So when we break up the contact, it's actually very, very sad, because they always try to reconnect with us. And we are the ones who push it away because we can't see them, so we think they're not there. Right. And then, like what happened with you and Max is, when an animal leaves the physical body, there's always something that hasn't been said, that should have been said, that happened, So it's a wonderful idea to actually get in touch after. Right. And first of all, also to see that everything went okay, that the transition went okay, and then just to explain things. Okay. And clear things up. And again, it's our animal companions that they're always there. They always want to talk to us. It's us that push it away. And it's so sad, because when you have a relationship with an animal, it is so close. Mm. And just because they leave the physical body, all of a sudden we break it up. It's heartbreaking. So when you reconnect, it's a wonderful thing actually. A lot of people are scared of it because they think, okay, maybe my dog or my cat says you shouldn't have this or you shouldn't have that, but it usually doesn't happen. Right. It's really nice to clear up things. So
if I give you the picture of Max, then you can see if you can get any messages from Max.
Absolutely. Actually, I already got some messages when we were talking about him. So basically, what he was saying is that he said he didn't mean it. It wasn't his fault. Right. Like he really didn't mean to do anything bad. Right. So
it was just an impulsive reaction. Is that what you're saying? Like the bite was just, he didn't mean to bite the little boy.
I mean, think about it. The only way a dog literally has to defend himself or herself is the teeth, right? We use our arms, we push and shove and stuff like that. So, so he really didn't do it out of an aggressive notion or anything like that. He really, it just happened. It was just everything happened at once. Right. So he says he didn't mean any harm.
Right.
And he was quite surprised that that was the
Result.
Result,
Right.
yes. And he says he has never really felt, when you said you feel guilty about it, excuse me, he has never thought about that. Again, for him it was more like, what happened? I didn't do anything. Like, what actually happened? So he
Okay.
didn't blame anybody.
Okay.
But while you were talking about what happened, I actually connected with him already. So he kind of heard the whole story, and he's really happy now to know why it actually happened.
Oh.
So now he knows, because he always thought, why?
Oh, wow.
What actually happened? So we were able for him also to clear up.
Wow. So here I am saying sorry, like I remember saying sorry, especially when we were at the vets, and he's on the table, and I kept saying I'm sorry. But so he's like wondering why I'm saying sorry.
Well, it's nice that you said that, because it shows him that you really cared. So he said, thanks for saying that, but why am I actually really here? So that part of the story, nobody explained to him why he actually had to go to the vet.
Right. Because I think about myself back then, I didn't really think about explaining to an animal what was happening, because I didn't know that they would even understand me anyway. Even like putting him in the vehicle to go to the vets, like, I just kept saying I'm sorry, but he was probably like, where are we going? What's going on?
Yeah, like, why? What's happening? Because nobody, it's the same thing. If somebody you don't know, because, okay, if like a stranger would come and grabs you and takes you, would say, excuse me, but where are we going, right?
Right.
I mean, they are going with us because they are trusting, but it's still like, why am I here? What's going on? So, if we explain things to our animal companions,
Right.
then at least they know.
Right.
And so when you talk
Right.
with an animal companion after, again, lots of misunderstandings can be cleared up.
Right. Anything else that he is saying?
He does say that he was very happy. He really loved living on a farm. He was very happy about being able to run around and, excuse me, not being locked up in
Right.
in an apartment and so on. He was really happy about that. But again, there's absolutely no. He says, don't feel guilty.
Okay.
He doesn't blame you in any way, shape, or form.
Okay. Okay.
But he also would like it if you would stay in touch with him, because you did share for him a lifetime, right? And then all of a sudden having no contact at all, it's kind of sad for him as well, because
Okay.
he says he is around.
Wow.
So what you can do things like, talk to him frequently, or even put up a picture of him, because for most people, if you see something, it's still more valid, right?
Right.
So put up pictures, and every time you pass by, say hi,
Right.
or just close your eyes and feel what it felt when you touched him and how much you loved him.
Right.
He will receive that.
Right. Right.
I do that, like all my animal companions who have left their physical body, I talk to them all the time, like several times a day. Every morning, it's just a quick hi, because usually you have to get up and get everybody out kind of thing.
Right.
During the day, if they pop in my mind, I talk to them. At night, I always take time to each individual, to talk to each individual and just chat with them, or, because sometimes when you think about your animal companion, right, that left the physical body, in your mind you think about them, and most people say, well, yeah, I think about them, but who actually initiated that thought? It could have been him. It could have been Max saying,
Right. So
"Hi."
when a pet just suddenly comes into your mind,
Right.
it could be your pet trying to reconnect with you.
Correct. It's like if you're on the phone with somebody, right?
Right.
Somebody has to punch in the numbers, and then you're talking. So somebody had to start that conversation, that telephone call.
Right.
So the same thing, when your animal companion wants to get in touch with you, he has to pop in your mind to say, hey, here I am.
Right.
But most people, when you think about them, they think it was me who started. No, it might have been your animal companion saying, I'm here, I would like to talk with you.
And we'll talk more about that. I can clearly see how hearing messages from pets that have passed on, or as you say, moved on, transitioned, would be very helpful for pet owners. We will continue our discussion on animal communication when we come back. Thanks, Claudia.
You're welcome.
Welcome back to Awakening Within. I have with me Claudia Hehr, an animal communicator who helps us communicate with animals. And what a profound effect just meeting you has made on my relationship with my existing pet, with my past pet, you know, that has moved on.
Left his physical body.
Left his physical body. I'm going to work on my language because I totally agree with you on that. It's funny, I've used that with humans, but I haven't used that language with animals. So there's my next level of consciousness is to remove.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it's funny too when we talk about animals. You know, when you meet an animal on the street, for example, like some people come up to me and say, "Can I pet your dog?" And I said, "It's okay with me, but you have to ask him." And then they look at me weird. You know, but it's true because maybe my dog doesn't want to be touched at that moment or whatever, right?
So how would they know? Like literally, if I came up to you and said that and you said you have to ask my dog, I say, you know, "Can I pet you?" Then do I just look for the physical signs?
Well, yeah, because most people right now still are on the verbal. So I would say, you know, you have to ask him. And they say, "How do I do that?" That's usually what they ask. I said, well, you know what, the best thing is put down your hand and say, "May I pet you? May I touch you?"
Right.
When my dog looks away, then he doesn't want to be touched. And the people are, wow, you know, because it's a totally different thought that asking an animal about their permission and so on, right?
Right. And so it's in tuning into their body language.
Yes and no. I mean, I would say first do it a little bit this way because most people are not telepathic yet, so they can't say, "Can I touch you?" and hear the dog back, right? So
Where you do.
Yes, I do.
Right. Okay.
But for people, it's good to have a little sign. So, for example, with my dog companions, I said, if you know you would like to be left alone, you turn away. So we have. So I have already, you know, talked to
trained them to do that.
I've talked to them about what would be the easiest for you, rather than just being touched.
Right.
And at the beginning, it's also when you start communicating with the animal companions, or with all animals, right? I mean, sometimes you go out, you see a bird, you can say, "Hi, how are you?" You know, you will be amazed how they interact with you. Or a little squirrel. I have incredible stories about, you know, wild animals I communicate with. It's fascinating. But what's really important is at the beginning, if you verbalize yourself first. Because again, when we speak and when we think, we send out telepathic messages. And I usually communicate with animals non-verbally, right? But when you first start, it's a good idea to verbalize first, because your mind goes all over the place. So for example, let's say you have a dog called Buddy, and you wanted to say to Buddy, "Okay, Buddy, I have to do the dishes first, then I make the bed, and then we go for a walk." Mm-hmm. So very simple to say, right? But in your mind, you would say, "Okay, I have to do the dishes first. Oh man, I have to take the trash out as well. And you know what? If I take the trash out, I can actually take the letters that I picked up for Mary from the mailbox." You know what I mean? Right. So your mind goes, and then you're already lost, Buddy, right? And that's it. So it's very important that first you say it out loud till you train yourself actually to do it.
Right. And then you can just do that. You can do you look at your dog even if you're not speaking?
I don't have to, no.
You don't even have to do that?
But I have to connect with them. Like, I have to tune in, or I have to feel the connection.
Okay.
That's the same. If you walk into a room with 10 people and you start talking, nobody probably will listen to you, because who are you talking to? There's 10 people, right?
Right.
So it's the same thing. If you don't have that connection, your dog might not even realize that you're talking with them.
Oh, you're talking to me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I can feel it if I'm connected. It's almost like when you plug in an outlet, you feel, all of a sudden there's power. I kind of feel like that when I connect with an animal, physical or non-physical. I feel that connection.
Right.
But, I've been doing it for so long, right? So it's just there. So at the beginning, again, you say out your animal companion's name first so that they know you're talking to them. But don't expect them to turn around and say, "Yeah, what you want?" Animals don't do that. Right. They hear you and say, "Yeah, what do you want? I'm busy sniffing. What do you want? What do you want?"
Right.
But, just show them that you are talking with them. Again, it's a lot of practicing and stuff. But if you change around the way you are with your animal companions, you talk to them, you tell them more, you involve them in your life, you will see that your life and the life of your animal companion will dramatically change to the better.
Right. So, I mean, I just think of, people like the Animal Whisperer and all these other, shows where there's dog training. The thing that I hear time and time again is it's not about actually changing the dog, it's about changing the pet owner.
Right.
So this is part of that change is communicating more effectively with our pets.
But it's also, when we train dogs, right? You do this, so I correct you with that. But once we explain to them why we want this, I give you an example. There's a sport called Schutzhund. And one of them is where the dog, there's actually 6 blinds. And the dog has to go through each blind to find out if somebody's hiding behind one. And then once the dog sees this person, they have to stop and bark to alert that there's somebody there, right? So I had this gentleman, and he came and he said, you know what, my dog goes to the first blind and runs right to the sixth blind and barks. So constantly we lose points and are even disqualified. So I talked to his dog companion and said, why do you do that? And he said, well, I know that the guy's in the sixth blind, so why should I
Why bother? Right, yeah, let's get to the point.
So I explained to his dog companion, I said, you know what, this is not about finding the guy only. This is about showing that you guys have teamwork. So your guardian sends you there, sends you there, sends you there, so people see that you're actually working together.
Right.
And the dog said, oh, okay. So the next time he went down to the training ground, the dog did it, and everybody said, what on earth did you do with your dog? Because for years.
Right.
But all of a sudden it made sense.
Right.
So
you made that connection.
Yeah, so just blind training, if we explain things, like
Right.
if you go to a different country or have a new job and somebody would explain to you what you should actually do, it would be so helpful.
Thank you, Claudia, for coming back and talking to us more about connecting with our animal friends and bringing a greater level of consciousness to the needs and feelings of animals. Recently, I was watching a documentary on the work of Jane Goodall. I just knew her as a woman who lived with the chimpanzees back in the 1960s, and I must confess, not much beyond that. As I watched this documentary, which included video footage of Jane with the chimps, I was truly astonished. I was not only astonished with her perseverance and her bravery and all that she discovered and reported about the chimps, but what astonished me the most was the ignorant veil humans were living under at that time about animals. She received great resistance and even anger from scientists that she was crazy to think that animals communicated with each other, that they had relationships, that they experienced emotions like joy, anger, and heartache when loved ones passed on. Jane Goodall woke us up to how we think about animals and how we treat them. In 50 years, many things have changed and improved for animals, both domestic and animals we slaughter to eat. But have we woken up enough? Are there still more ways we can improve the ways we treat animals? I'm not going to suggest we all become vegetarians or vegans. That's a personal decision. Whether we are eating meat or not, it does not mean we can't continue to find more ways to treat the animals we share this planet with dignity and respect. How conscious are we on how our beliefs, words, and actions affect the lives of animals? Now there's something to consider. I'm Jill McPherson, and I wish you all well on your journey of awakening within. Thanks for watching.